The Osmiomancy gloves have reigned supreme for a long time as the best stasis Warlock build in Destiny 2, but today that has changed. This build can give you 90% damage resist, considerable amounts of stasis turrets, 25% damage bonus to all stasis weapons for you and your teammates, crazy boss DPS, and multiple playstyles to make you the Stasis Warlock King. But before we begin today's video, I would like to mention that my videos are usually off-meta builds that are different to usual builds that are all the same. This build, in my opinion, is better than the Osmiomancy Turret King by far, as we get more damage resistance and DPS, yet still have a lot of turrets. So, without further ado, let's get into the video. There is no better place to start than with our first aspect, Bleak Watcher, which along with giving you 2 fragment slots, allows you to hold your grenade button and charge up a stasis turret that when thrown will spawn a little blue orb that will shoot out slowing projectiles onto your opponents. This, as said, inflicts the slow debuff, which is a stacking debuff that makes enemies have decreased movement speed and have less accuracy. When the enemy receives 100 slow stacks, it will freeze. The Bleak Watcher turret inflicts 20 slow stacks on hit, so it will freeze enemies in no time. Frozen enemies are immobilized and cannot do anything. This is absolutely amazing and will destroy onslaught since they are trying to get to the ADU. Since we have talked about Bleak Watcher, let's mention the grenade of choice. This is the Dusk Field grenade. When thrown, it will create a globe that slows targets within. This is perfect for onslaught, as it will completely lock down a large area of ads. And you know, that's kind of what we need to do, because we're trying to stop them from getting to the ADU. For our first fragment, we want to take the Whisper of Chains, as it gives us 40% damage resistance when we are near a stasis crystal or frozen target. This is an obvious pick, as one of the playstyles is very aggressive, and also who would let down damage reduction. I will not spoil the rest of the fragments yet, other than Whisper of Durance, which makes our abilities that linger last longer. These will include the Dusk Field grenade and the stasis turret. In addition, this fragment makes slow last longer, which can really help us in clutch moments. For our second aspect, we have chosen the Frost Pulse, a very underused aspect that will aid us a lot thanks to our exotic armor pick of choice. I will not say which one yet, but I'm sure you already know. Frost Pulse makes it so that when we cast our Rift, we create a freezing shockwave that makes anything nearby immobilized. Frost Pulse also grants 2 aspect slots. Speaking of our Rift, the choice really is up to you, but I suggest the Healing Rift as we already have damage buffs thanks to our exotics, so we might as well go for healing from our Rift. For our next fragment, let's use the Whisper of Refraction, as this allows us to gain Rift energy upon defeating slowed or frozen combatants, which, if you don't know, it gives us different amounts based on different enemies. As seen on screen, they are 9% from tier 1 combatants, 13% from tier 2 combatants, 20% from tier 3 combatants, 30% from tier 4 combatants, 40% from mini bosses, and 50% for bosses. As you can see on my screen, my Rift energy goes up when I defeat a frozen target. For the jump, please choose what you are comfortable with, as jumps can sometimes save your life. If you really don't know what to pick, go with Burst Glide. For the melee, there are no other choices, so Penumbra Blast it is. This can sometimes really save your life in a clutch up moment where you can just use it and just chuck out a little freeze. Finally, our last fragment is the Whisper of Shards, which makes us gain a whopping 500% grenade regeneration rate for 5 seconds after shattering a stasis crystal. If you shatter more than one, the timer will go up, but caps at 11 seconds. Now you might be thinking,
what?
We don't have anything that makes crystals, so how does that become useful? Well, our exotic weapon of choice is the Vergless Curve. This is a bow that makes it so when we get kills with it, we get stacks on our screen called Hail Barrage. This can go up to 5 stacks. When we hit fire, we send out arrows with the amount of stacks that create stasis crystals on impact. That is a really easy way to create crystals, as we only need to get kills. If you don't have the catalyst, don't worry, it only increases draw speed when we freeze a target. Vergless can be used to lock down areas by placing crystals in tight spots, so literally nothing can get through. If you are wondering what other weapons I'm using, ideally a blinding grenade launcher is perfect for shutting down tormentors, essentially like freeze, but they can move. In the heavy slot, a stasis weapon is ideal, like Cold Comfort, as it will benefit from stasis surge, but feel free to use whatever you like. Now last but not least, the exotic armor of choice, the Balidor's Wrathweavers. If you have been watching my other videos, you will know I hated these, but they just look so good and fit perfectly in this build. I just had to use them. After testing this build for a few months, I realized its true potential. Balidor's Wrathweavers makes it so that our super of choice, the Winter's Wrath, is literally the only one, so, just use it. The shockwave from Winter's Wrath deals 100% increased shatter damage. Against tormentors in onslaught, I found this very helpful. It also makes it so our allies that come into contact with the Winter's Wrath shockwave are granted a 50 HP stasis overshield and ×4 stasis weapon surge for 15 seconds. This buff is refreshable. And finally, the reason why we took Frost Pulse is because on Rift cast, allies receive a ×2 stasis weapon surge for 11 seconds and again a 50 HP stasis overshield for 15 seconds. This can help in DPS and survivability. That's what we want to see. For those wondering, the stasis overshield gives you a 50 HP overshield and 50% damage reduction. This stacks with Whisper of Chains, so together we have 90% damage reduction. As you can see, here's the difference. I don't know whether the armor mod system will change, but this build doesn't really need them. If you do want to know them, they will be in the dim link in the comments. Yes, in the comments, not in the description, because I haven't done the phone sign-in thing. Tell me in the comments if I should. When building into this, prioritize resilience then discipline. Resilience will give us more damage resist. When you have 100 resilience, we'll have 30% damage resistance. Discipline will just decrease the cooldown of our grenade, which is again very useful. Before we finish the video, I wanted to mention the playstyle of the build. If you would like to play aggressively, that's what Frost Pulse is for. You can run up to them, cast your Rift, freeze, and you lock down a whole area, and you also get damage bonus and an overshield. If you want to play safe, Frost Pulse doesn't need to be used aggressively, but instead you can stand back far away, cast your Rift to give you and your allies overshields and a damage bonus, and you can just plink away. Thanks so much for watching, and if I missed anything, tell me in the comments and I will answer.